Hi, I'm Lorena. I'm a spiritual life coach and a breathwork teacher, and I'm primarily focused on Neville Goddard's teachings. And I'm here to help you shift your state of being and recreate your reality. If you're interested in one-on-one coaching, you can check out information for that in the description box below. And if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe so you can get a new video every week. So today's video is all about creating a new reality for yourself so you can feel more fulfilled within yourself and stop seeking for change. We're going to focus on the difference between trying to change your reality and choosing or selecting a new reality. This was kind of inspired by a mistake that I see lots of people make. I often get the question, how do I change this and that? How do I change this person? How do I change this circumstance? How do I make things different? And many people that find these concepts, especially manifestation, the law of assumption, anything along those lines, it's often because they are unhappy with the circumstances in their life or the situation they're in. So maybe that's your situation, or that has been your situation, or you're currently in circumstances, experiencing circumstances that you don't really like, that you would really like to change, and you don't know how, or maybe you know how and you just need a little push. Or maybe it's less about change, but more about lacking something that you really want and you feel like there's something missing in your life that you would really desire. And that's okay. That's why we're here. That's what we're going to do. However, the mistake that many people make, even with the knowledge that they have about the law of assumption or about manifestation, is that they are trying to change what's already there. If you've watched my video on how to change your self-concept, you know that there is actually nothing and no one to change aside from yourself. No one to change but self. And this is because your reality mirrors who you are, not necessarily what you want. It's not about manipulation. It's not about influence. If the world is a mirror, your reality is a mirror, it's a reflection. It's nothing that you directly impact. As Neville Goddard says, stop trying to change the world, since it is only the mirror. Man's attempt to change the world by force is as fruitless as breaking a mirror in the hope of changing his face. Leave the mirror and change your face. Leave the world alone and change your conceptions of yourself. Don't try to fight the mirror. Don't try to argue with it. Ignoring your physical reality doesn't mean denying it. It doesn't mean trying to change it. You can acknowledge it. You don't have to pretend things aren't the way they are. You don't even have to like it. The term circumstances don't matter really just means they are not relevant. It doesn't mean you should pretend they're not there. It just means they're not permanent. They will not stay. Everything changes and shifts all the time, depending on the state you're in. The people and the circumstances around you reflect your perception of yourself and your perception of the reality you're experiencing. So when you want to change your reality, it's not about impacting what's in front of you. It's about choosing something new. An analogy that you can use for this is if you're reading a book, for example, and you're halfway through and you notice you don't like it, doesn't resonate with you, you would like to read something else. You're not going to rewrite that book that's in your hand. You're going to close it and put it away, and you're going to take a new book and read a new book. You're not changing the book at hand. You're just choosing a new story instead. This is what you do with your perception of your reality. You're not trying to change the reality that's in front of you. You're leaving it alone. You're letting it be. You're choosing a new one to focus on. The reality that you are currently in, the reality that you desire to experience, and all the other possibilities that you could ever imagine all exist. That all exists as potential. I'm not talking about the concept of parallel realities here. I am talking about very subtle shifts in perception. The way you see things, the way you perceive things, the way you interpret things. Depending on your perception and your interpretation, there will be new possibilities, new opportunities that show up for you, because all that potential currently exists already, and it always does. There's also always a million explanations for one particular circumstance. So don't get fixated on one explanation, on one particular belief or assumption. The reason you're more likely to want to change what is in front of you instead of putting your attention elsewhere, leaving it alone and selecting something new, is because it's very human for our brains to just get fixated on the problem or the negativity, the negative perception. We're used to focusing on whatever could be a risk for us or whatever needs fixing. And that is purely our survival instinct. There is nothing wrong with that. You know, our ancestors had to be that way. So if there was a tiger around the corner, they would follow that survival instinct. But in day-to-day situations and when you're creating your reality intentionally, you don't need to worry about the tiger. You don't need to problem solve. Your goal is not to change the circumstances that you see currently. You are selecting a different reality, a different state of being. You are just shifting your focus. And from that new focus, from that new state of being, which is an internal shift, and I have a whole video about how to change your state of being and also one on how to change your self-concept, where you can learn more about this. But what that does is it enables you to see the world, the circumstances that you're currently experiencing from a different viewpoint. You can take the pressure off it because you're not focused on solving a problem. You don't see a problem there because it belongs to a different version of you. It belongs to a different reality. So I'm going to give you 5 tips that will really support you in choosing a new reality over trying to change your existing one. Number 1, I already touched on it. Let the old reality be. Accept it the way it is. Don't try to change it. Remind yourself that nothing is permanent and that things can shift in an instant. Here's something important. The only reason your reality is still the way it is and your circumstances are still the way they are is because one part of you, even if it's a small part of you, feels more comfortable in the old reality than in the reality you want to experience instead. So acknowledge and validate that part of you as well. Number 2, shift your focus to the reality that you want to experience instead. How would it feel to live the life you desire? How would you do things differently? What thoughts would you be having? How would you feel? How would you go through life every day? How would you treat your current circumstances if you were looking at them from your new reality, from your new belief system, from your new state of being, from your new self-concept and self-image? Number 3, take the attention off the problem or the perceived problem. Again, it's okay to recognize that there's a problem or that things aren't the way you want them to be. It is okay to see lack as long as you don't stay there, as long as you don't turn it into something to fix. You can acknowledge it, but don't give it more energy than necessary. It's nothing to fix. It's something to acknowledge and move on from. Number 4, change your perception of your current circumstances. Whatever obstacles you're currently seeing, you can turn into opportunities. And that basically immediately brings me to number 5. Keep your focus on yourself and your self-concept instead of just focusing on your manifestation alone. When you feel triggered or when things aren't going the way you want them to go, when you're not seeing the proof you would like to see yet, when you're not seeing the circumstances you would like to see yet, when you see more obstacles, don't ask yourself, oh my God, how did I create this? How can I fix this? How can I change this? Leave it be and take it as a learning opportunity. Take it as an opportunity to learn something about yourself. How you are reacting to the circumstance at hand always shows you where you are at internally, what you're truly believing, and what your state of being is in that moment. So when you notice yourself being reactive to a circumstance, you can ask yourself, if I was already the ideal version of myself, if I was living from the reality where everything was the way I wanted to be, then how would I react to exactly that circumstance that I'm currently experiencing and seeing? How would I treat this situation? Can I learn from this? Perceiving your reality from this perspective makes things so much easier for you. When you are aware that you're not changing anything, but you are simply selecting your preference instead, it is so much easier not to react to your circumstances because they lose their relevance. If you don't believe something is true or it's not a problem for you and you don't see it as something to fix or change, it can leave your awareness very, very easily. Stop fighting. Stop being at war with your physical reality, with your physical circumstances. There is nothing to fight. You can accept and acknowledge the way things are because they will not stay this way. You can choose to see things differently, and you can choose the beliefs that you prefer. Please leave me a comment below and let me know, what are you choosing to put your focus on today? Who do you want to be today? And how do you want to see things today? And if you haven't already, click the little subscribe button. Mwah! I love you lots. See you next week.